And now, live from downtown Amarillo, Texas, this is the Amarillo Pioneer Podcast. Here's your host and the editor of the Amarillo Pioneer, Thomas Warren.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Amarillo Pioneer Podcast again this evening, and we are excited to be speaking with another candidate running in the May 6th election. The candidate joining us this evening is Tonya Winston, and Tonya Winston, also known as Lady Butterscotch, she's running for mayor this year to replace Ginger Nelson, who is not seeking re-election. One of the first open mayor races we've had in a long time in the city, and Tonya Winston is hoping to be that next elected leader for the city of Amarillo. And we're going to get into the issues and why Tonya is running. But before we get started, thanks so much for being with us. And how are you doing this evening?
I am doing great. It's a blessed day, a good day, and just thankful to be living and productive.
Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that at all. Well, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. For those who are not familiar with you, tell us a little about yourself and why you decided to run for mayor this year.
I was born and raised here in the city of Amarillo, Texas, at the old Northwest Texas Hospital. My grandparents moved to Amarillo in 1945. My grandfather had the opportunity to work for the smelter. He also retired at the smelter, and while he was working at the smelter, he also had a painting business and worked at the old Green Acres apartments. And so, with that being said, I come from a well-rooted, Bible-based, hardworking, middle-class family, uh, which he had 6 kids, and my mother and father. They raised my sister and I. My father was an airman. Uh, Mother and father met at the airman base that was here in Amarillo, Texas, in the 60s and 70s. Um, my uh, mother was pretty much a hardworking woman. She worked at Levi Strauss, where she retired, and my father retired from the Air Force. I have one son, and I have 2 grandchildren. And I have one sister, and she too is also a airman, a woman of the Air Force, which she still represents this day as a master sergeant. My background is criminal justice and law enforcement. I've always had a passion for criminal justice and law enforcement and structure. Um, I worked uh, at many places, through my years of living here on this earth. By choice, I'm a woman of many hats. I started out as a motivational speaker, worked at Pantex plant, started out as a security officer there, which later on I bid it out and started working inside of the plant in general stores. And later on, I went to Bell Helicopter Textron, worked in quality engineering, branched out, did contract aviation, and then later on, I became a professional truck driver, which I had received my license when I was in school in 1992 is when I actually received my first commercial license. So I've driven 48 states um, in the last probably 12 or 13 years. Uh, I'm also a financial analyst. I am a partner with Primerica Insurance. With that being said, I'm also a community activist, and I've started working in the Amarillo community ever since I was 8 years old. The first board that I was on, where I was assistant secretary, was at the Amarillo United Citizens Forum. I also founded 2 organizations, which is a youth program called the Mahogany Strutters, and then later on in 2018, I formed a organization called the Redeemed Queens Empowerment Sisterhood, and basically that particular organization was for men and women who had um, changed their lives uh, successfully and made a complete uh, U-turn to get on the right path with their lives. Uh, I'm a church going person. I believe in uh, the word of God. His word comes first. He is first and foremost in my life. Without him, I am nothing. Um, the reason why I decided to run for mayor is because my footprints are all over this city, born and raised, born at Northwest Texas Hospital. So I have a passion. I have a passion for Amarillo, Texas, because I have seen how it has progress, but at the same time, I've seen how the city has been stagnant in so many different areas throughout the city. And with being a professional truck driver and able to drive 48 states, it gave me the opportunity to see how different states and other cities throughout Texas are progressing. And with Amarillo, Texas, I feel with so many other people that we're stagnant for the city of Amarillo. And my focus is that the entire city should be able to grow, boom, and thrive equally throughout the entire city of Amarillo. So, with economic development, um, we need more economic development here in the city of Amarillo. We need more jobs and opportunity to come here, good paying jobs. It's no There is no reason why our children should graduate from high school here in any of the schools here in Amarillo, Texas, leave and go to college, get their degrees or their doctrines, and they decide that they do not want to come back to Amarillo, Texas. Why is it that so many of them don't want to return back home? Because there's nothing here for them to embrace at the beginning of their careers. And so, with that being said, we need to bring more economic development here in the city of Amarillo for our youth, because our youth is our future. And we have to understand that um, it takes the city, the people in the city that run this city. It's not the people who hold the mayor's position, um, the councilman, the city manager, city secretary. Yes, they are on the platform to help make sure that the city is being ran properly. But at the end of the day, the citizens here in the city of Amarillo, Texas, is what make this city be productive and growing. And each are determined and concerned about the city which they live in, and they come to the city meetings and they have a voice. They should be heard. These things should be brought to the table so that different things in the city priorities are addressed. You know, um, there's so many things that need to be done throughout the city as far as infrastructure. Surveillance and security is my number one thing. Um, our Amarillo Police Department should be at its best at all time, with all the best and excellent equipment and technology that they need to have to make sure that our city stay at its best as far as crime. We don't need to be at the top of the list of a high crime rate. As far as our response teams, our ambulance and fire department. I think the city of Amarillo, we are doing good with those different uh, departments throughout the city of Amarillo. We're doing good, but we can do better. Um, we have a issue with fire hydrants throughout the city of Amarillo that needs to be implemented and upgraded throughout the entire city of Amarillo. There is no reason why, if any resident home catches on fire or a commercial building catches on fire, it doesn't make sense that you have to uh, hook hook up 4 or 5 uh, fire trucks to transport water to that building or that house. So one of the main issues is making sure that our city have all the different resources that we need for safety and security throughout the city of Amarillo. As far as the water infrastructure throughout the city of Amarillo, um, we can bring growth into the city of Amarillo, but if our infrastructure is not where it needs to be, then it's going to be hard for people businesses who want to come to the city of Amarillo to build a empire here for the people in the city. So I feel like I'm the person for the seat because I'm a hands-on person and I'm a people person, and I like getting my hands and feet wet to see what it is that the city needs. I don't mind going to sit with the chief of police for the city of Amarillo, or the chief of the fire department, or any management throughout the city that help run the city. I don't mind sitting at the table with them and finding out, what is it that we need. Our city has to be taken care of so that our city can continue to grow for our youth who are moving forward in the future.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about one of the biggest issues of this election, and that's the Civic Center. I'm sure you followed that issue pretty closely, especially after Alex Fairley's lawsuit and everything that happened with that and everything we found out from that. But you still talk to a lot of people, and they say the Civic Center is a priority, even though the brakes are kind of pumped on the last attempt to do the Civic Center. So if you were elected, will the Civic Center be a priority for you? And if so, how are you going to get it done this time?
The Civic Center is a priority, but I feel like our infrastructure is more of a priority than the Amarillo Civic Center. Now, with that being said, as far as I'm concerned, I'm old school. If it's not broke, uh, don't fix it. Now, that doesn't mean that the Civic Center cannot be renovated. Okay, um, if we had more seating in the Civic Center for more entertainment, of course, we can bring more revenue in. But you have to ask yourself, as a citizen and as a councilman, is the Amarillo Civic Center a a major priority for the city, where as far as revenue need to go? I do believe that um, based on booking entertainment here in the city of Amarillo, sometimes a entertainer may not choose to perform in Amarillo because there's not enough money making seats. Okay, but as a looking at the Civic Center and going inside of the Civic Center and seeing the Civic Center hands on, I feel like it can be improved. Uh, it can be improved. That's how I feel. I feel like it can be implemented, renovated, um, so that it can seat more um, people in the Civic Center. One of the things that I've noticed throughout the city of Amarillo is that you can go into any major city throughout Texas, whether it be Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, San Antonio. Those are Austin, Texas. Those are like the bigger cities in Texas. And what I've noticed is that the engineering of the buildings, they are um, sky risers. um, Even though the Civic Center is there, have anybody even thought to build up, to build higher up? You know, we can't build wider, but you can build up. And so I just feel like, as a citizen, I feel like that our money should be going to other priorities in the city, than to be focusing on the Civic Center. With that being said, yes, I know that the entire city could use a bigger Civic Center, but is that our priority right now?
Sure, sure. I want to ask you about something you've been campaigning on, and I want to see if you can kind of explain it for folks who haven't been paying attention. I noticed, with some of your announcements, and I think it's on your yard sign too, there's a tagline that says something like, we're going to make a prolific U-turn in the city if you're elected. Can you kind of explain what you mean by that and how you view that in the context of what Amarillo needs to do differently or change?
Progress, uh, production, more revenue in the city, more jobs, more equal opportunity for the children who are growing up in the city. One of the things that was discussed last night is that we need to get back to basics. And we do need to get back to basic, but we don't need to get so basic till we get to the point where we become stagnant and the city is not growing. The city should grow equally throughout the entire city, equally. You would hear me say that if you take the opportunity to take a drive around the loop 335, you will actually see where the city is growing. And like I said, I was born and raised here in the city of Amarillo. I've been to 50 states, 48 states as a truck driver. Um, and you can see how these other cities and states are really growing as cities, whether it's housing, new development, economically, new job opportunities, high tech corporations need to come into Amarillo so that we can have more higher paying jobs. Okay, we have Amazon here. We have a nice platform with Amazon being out there on the north side of town. And from what I understand, they can hardly keep people at work because they don't have the turnaround on their inventory like it's supposed to be. So, in order for Amarillo to make a prolific U turn, we are going to have to uh, be basic, but we can't be so basic till we get left behind in society as this for the city to grow and be vibrant and thriving. Because if we continue to be too basic for the city of Amarillo, we are going to lose our youth. And our youth are going to go and find residence in other cities and states that uh, support their lifestyles. And my biggest goal is that we need to work on trying to keep our youth in our town. uh, when they graduate from college, they are wanting and running to come back home to Amarillo, Texas. We need to keep our children and our youth in the city of Amarillo so that the city can continue to grow. And that's what I mean about making a prolific U-turn. If the south side of Amarillo is growing progressively, Then the west, the east, and the north side should be growing at the same time. If we're building a neighborhood Walmart on the west side of town, then right behind it, the north and the east side of town should be getting one too. So you want the city to be equally productive and growing at the same time. I had to go to school in Salt Lake City, Utah for 3.5 months. Salt Lake City, Utah. I have never seen a city that was so excellent. Throughout their entire city, there is no such thing as a low income part of town, or where's the the poor side of the town or the richest side of the town. The city is so well kept and thriving and and growing and beautified till you don't you don't know what side of town you're on because the entire city looks good. And this is what I mean about making a prolific U-turn to excellence for the city of Amarillo. The entire city equally should be growing together for the citizens and for the people who pay their tax paying money in the city.
Absolutely. Well, one final question I want to ask you about. I think you've kind of touched on this as far as the city itself is concerned with some of the basic infrastructure, but I want to talk more about the right side, and that is on the issue of water. We live in an area where our economy lives and dies with access to water, with farming and ranching communities here. But we also need water here in the city of Amarillo. And I don't know if you've seen the projections, but there have been projections by something like the year 2040, the population of the state of Texas is going to double in size. And while a lot of that is going to come south of the I-35 corridor, Amarillo's growth is not slowing down either. And so if you're elected mayor, how are you going to make sure that we have access to the water that we need to thrive as our city continues to grow?
Well, basically, we need to make sure that we have the right engineering uh, developers who are going to put the piping down and making sure that the infrastructure is um, basically uh, ran throughout the city. I mean, there's only one way to do it, and that's to do it. And I don't think that, I mean, you have to start from somewhere to get this infrastructure to be what it needs to be. And there's no doubt that the south side of Amarillo is growing fast. Matter of fact, like I said, if you take the ride through on the loop of 335, Amarillo, Texas, and Canyon is kissing right now. So, you know, the infrastructure is a priority. It's more so a priority than, really just focusing on Amarillo Civic Center. Now, it's important that the Amarillo Civic Center should be renovated, or maybe even a new a civic center, but we need to make sure that our development futures of the city is priority first, and the water infrastructure is, to me, should be number one, versus surveillance and security throughout the city. So, with that being done, I feel like with the budgeting and everything, that should be one of the main priorities where the money should go, so that we can get the water infrastructure like we're supposed to, and get it in line, and for the engineers to come in and construction and all that to get it up and going. There should be no more procrastinating on the water infrastructure throughout the city of Amarillo. And it needs to be uh, looked at vigilantly, to the point that when they're starting the engineering and put it down, um, it also needs to have uh, how can I say this? It needs to be formatted to where every part of the city is not along with getting that structure taken care of as far as the infrastructure, but with the water. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, we've kind of changed things up this year. In the past, we've sat here for an hour and talked about issues, and I love that. But the truth is, it doesn't really give folks a chance to get to know you. So I have some get to know you questions that we'd like to ask that maybe will give people a better idea of who you really are. And so if you're ready, we'll jump right into these.
Okay, I'm ready.
What is your favorite thing about Amarillo?
My favorite thing about Amarillo is the Amarillo Quarter Horse Association. I like the history about um, how Amarillo got started with horses, and how the root of it is how they were training horses and building a foundation here in Amarillo. I'm a cowgirl. I am a biker, and my love is for horses. I love riding horses. I think that that is the best thing that Amarillo has going for the city. And matter of fact, honestly, I feel like it's not enough. It's not enough. We need to do more with getting back to our roots here in the city of Amarillo, and what Amarillo was built on, so that Amarillo can be what it is, and bring history back to the forefront and get more involved. One of my visions also for the city of Amarillo is even the police department to start, uh, have police officers on horses. Uh, you know doing their when they're out on the field, just like it's sometimes in throughout the summer you see the police officers on bicycles. I think that would bring an attraction. It would open up more jobs and opportunity. I just love the city because our city, you can come to Amarillo, Texas, and raise your family in a good environment,
Sure.
and you don't have to worry about these massive gangs, and worry too much about, if you have your front door open and your glass door is locked, and you decide to go out your back door to dump your trash in the trash can in the alley, you don't have to run back full force because you worried that someone is going to break in your house before you come back from emptying your trash. I like the fact that Amarillo, Texas is a Bible based city. Here in the city of Amarillo, people love the Lord. That's very important, because if God is not in the forefront, this city will become a mess. And I believe that, based on history and our roots, uh, our citizens love the Lord. Uh, you know, and that's all that's important. And I just think it's just a awesome city to raise your family up, generation after generation, generation after generation. It's just a good city to raise your family. And this is the whole thing with me, is that yes, we want our children to go and get a college education so that they can get their master's or their associates or their doctorate. But when they complete that task, they are ready to return back home so that they continue to put that powerful education back into the city, whether it be working in the city or on the council or running for mayor or working for the Amarillo Independent School District. All of this is important for the city of Amarillo. And with that being said, we do not have time to procrastinate on getting things done. And we need to take care of our priorities first. What is going to have this city at good standing at all times? And the people in the city is who actually allows this city to be up and running and booming and productive.
Sure. Well, one final get to know you question before we wrap up. What is an interesting fact about you that the people listening might not know?
I love the Lord. I have a passion of reading the Bible. I have good ethics, morals. I'm loyal. My word is my bond. I try to meet deadlines. If I can't, I always try to get back in touch or try to make sure that I do my very best to do the best that I can. I love people. I love children. And one of the things that I love the most is that we as a people can be all that we can be if we become one and united and be able to work together, think together, and make good planning together. That's who I am as a person. I'm very loyal to people.
Absolutely. Well, for those listening who are undecided, why don't you give us a quick elevator pitch and tell us why you are the person who needs to be the next mayor for the city of Amarillo?
Because I lead by example and I'm going to get the job done. I will get the job done. I will be compassionate enough to listen and find the best result to get the job done on any level across the table. I'm not afraid to take up tasks. I'm not afraid of planning. I'm not afraid of coming up with new ideas. I'm not afraid of negotiating and compromising at the table. That's who I am as a person. I'm very direct, but I'm honest and I have good ethics and I have good morals.
Absolutely. For those who want to donate or get a yard sign or just do something to get you elected as mayor, how can they go about doing that?
They can reach me at 1-800-910-8757. That is my campaign number. Again, that number is 1-800-910-8757. My campaign P.O. Box is P.O. Box 50171. Again, P.O. Box 50171. Amarillo, Texas 79242113. My Gmail address is Winston for Mayor 2023 Amarillo, Texas at gmail.com. I am the lady for the seat. I am the lion that will roar. I am the rooster that will fight and be heard for the people in the city of Amarillo. This is our town, and we have to take care of it together.
Well, that is wonderful. Tonya, Winston, we really appreciate you being with us this evening, and we wish you all the best in your campaign.
Thank you. I was glad to have the opportunity to be a part of your podcast. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.